Engineering students, this is your tutorial on creating a rendered image. So the first thing, a rendered image is essentially a computer-generated image of whatever your assembly is. It's meant to create a realistic or a more attractive model of your object utilizing some of the internal rendering features of Autodesk Inventor. The first way to start a rendered image is you need to open up your assembly. In your assembly file, you'll probably start at the assembly. What you want to do is you want to go to in the View Context menu, and in the View Context menu, what we're going to turn on is going to be two things. We're going to take a look at the reflections, and we're going to turn on the shadows. So you can see here that we're just, again, trying to make this look a little bit nicer. You can think of it sitting on like a metallic surface, and there's some lights moving on it. So it creates kind of a, again, reflected image of it, and there's a little shadow because we have currently set up two lights in our room. We can select many of these different environments if we want. For example, we could turn on an environment called an old warehouse, and if I zoom out, it's sitting inside an old warehouse on the ground. For this particular one, we don't want to use that. We want to use something that's simple, so it could be a cool light. I particularly like the 2 light or the 1 light, just for the fact that they're simple. So I'm going to select my 2 lights, and I created the reflection on the bottom. If your reflection is not working or you're reflecting off to the side, whatever reason that is, then what you need to do is you need to look at the ground plane toggle. If you select that, you can see this is a ground plane that's reflecting across. If that's not happening, then you need to go into the settings, and you can manually adjust the ground plane to be in the correct spot, or you need to actually go in and you need to change your which one is your ground plane in this case. In this case, it's the X, or the XZ is the ground plane for me. You don't want to render this, so you want to make sure that it is turned off. Once you have those 2 objects turned on, we're going to select Environments and select Inventor Studio. This is our kind of rendering plugin for Inventor. Once this turns on, you want to select Render Image, and under the Width and Height, I click this little Select Output Size, and I select the biggest output. Once I select the largest output, I go to the renderer, and I'm going to leave everything this pretty much the same. We want a high material accuracy, and the type can be Gaussian. There are different types. I just keep it at Gaussian. And then there's render by iteration or render time. You can set these differently if you want a better rendered image. We'll just stay with the defaults of rendering 32 times. It takes about 2 minutes to do this. Once you have all these options selected, you're just going to click the render button. The Autodesk Inventor will go through and it will start to render the image. Now, for this particular puzzle cube, it doesn't look much different than what it would as a render, but when we have actually really awesome assemblies with many parts, we can make something look incredibly awesome. So here's our render. You can see it's creating the reflection down at the bottom. It's about halfway through. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video, I'll let it complete. Now that my render is complete, you see it took a little bit over a minute to complete the 32 iterations. And one thing I didn't mention is that this will render what it sees on the screen. So I'm going to save this first and then I'll explain that. So to save this picture, you're just going to go up and save the rendered image. And you want to save this in your puzzle cube activity. I've already created a few already there. So again, I'll just call this my rendered image 3. You might call it your rendered image 1. Once it's complete, you can go ahead and X out of it. So now what I said when it renders what it sees on the screen, if you're really far zoomed out, that's what it's going to render, this large white area and your puzzle cube way in the back. So you want to frame up your puzzle cube nicely, kind of in the center of your screen by using your zoom tools. Okay. So now that we have that rendered image complete, you're going to go back to your working drawings, and the first sheet we created was the rendered sheet. What I would like you to do with this is we're going to open the little arrow, and we're actually going to get rid of the WTHSIED title block. So it gets rid of the title block, and then I like to also get rid of the border. With both of those gone, we're going to go to the Manage Context menu, and we're going to select Insert Object. In the Insert Object, we're going to create a new object from a file. We're going to click Browse, and we're going to select the rendered image that you want. So I'm going to select this one right now because it is the most framed up one. So I'm going to select Open, and then I'm going to select OK. Now it's going to ask me to bring it in. Now the best part is it is massive, so I zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to kind of put it right in the corner. And now I'm going to select the object, and I am going to grab these yellow handles, and I'm going to make the object smaller so it can fit within my object. So you can see here, it can be a little bit fussy to be able to grab the corners properly. So now that I have it there, I'm going to try to get in the corner here, bring it down, and then kind of frame it right into the middle of the drawing. So now we have our rendered image nice in the middle. If we continue on, we should see the exploded view, and then we should start seeing our pieces that are dimensioned out. So again, that's how you create your rendered image and insert it into Autodesk Inventor, your working drawings.